Let's talk vaccine mandates, shall we? I'm in California. California is the first state in the union to mandate vaccines for students grades 7 to 12. I kid you not. They are now mandated to have the vaccines. Now, there is a prominent doctor in Israel, one of the leading specialists in Israel. He wrote an open paper to the healthcare authorities. It's too bad the California healthcare authorities, including the governor, Gavin Newsom, didn't read this man's paper. Let's read his open letter. His name is Professor Ehud Kimron. He's head of the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at Tel Aviv University, one of the leading Israeli immunologists. Here is his open letter critical of the management of the coronavirus pandemic, and he wrote the letter called Ministry of Health, It's Time to Admit Failure. 2 years late, you finally realize that a respiratory virus cannot be defeated and that any such attempt is doomed to fail. You do not admit it because you have admitted almost no mistake in the last 2 years. But in retrospect, it is clear that you have failed miserably in almost all of your actions, and even the media is already having a hard time covering your shame. Wow. He continues. You refuse to admit that the infection comes in waves that fade by themselves, despite years of observation and scientific knowledge. You insisted on attributing every decline of the wave solely to your actions, and so through false propaganda, you overcame the plague. And again, you defeated it, and again, and again. He's just warming up. You refuse to admit that mass testing is ineffective, despite your own contingency plans explicitly stating so. You refuse to admit that recovery is more protective than a vaccine, despite previous knowledge and observations showing that non-recovered vaccinated people are more likely to be infected than recovered people. You refuse to admit that the vaccinated are contagious despite the observations. Based on this, you hope to achieve herd immunity by vaccination, and you failed in that as well. Did I mention he's one of the leading authorities in Israel? He continued. You insisted on ignoring the fact that the disease is dozens of times more dangerous for risk groups and older adults than for young people who are not in risk groups, despite the knowledge that came from China as early as 2020. I want to break here. Remember when I ran for governor? CNN talked to me about this, and I said I did not believe that young people needed to be vaccinated. They were healthy, not likely to get sick, not likely to get really sick, not likely to be hospitalized, and certainly not likely to die. And I got hammered.
Will you follow the science?
I'm going to follow the science. I don't believe the science suggests that young people should be vaccinated. I don't believe the science suggests that young people should have to wear masks at school. I'm not sure the science is settled on that at all. And young people are not likely to contract the coronavirus. And when they do, their symptoms are likely to be mild, and they're not likely to be hospitalized, and they're certainly not likely to die.
The science says he's wrong on several counts. Millions of children have tested positive for COVID-19. They're being hospitalized, and masks are proven to prevent the spread of the virus.
Back to the professor. You have not set up an effective system for reporting side effects from the vaccine, and reports on side effects have been deleted from your Facebook page. Doctors avoid linking side effects to the vaccine, lest you persecute them as you did with some of their colleagues. You have ignored many reports of changes of menstrual intensity and menstrual cycle times. You hid data that allows for objective and proper research. Instead, you chose to publish non-objective articles together with senior Pfizer executives on the effectiveness of safety vaccines.
Inside portion of the actual virus, so your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
Nick Carl is an experienced biochemist at Pfizer.
When somebody is naturally immune, like they got COVID, they probably have better, like not better, but more antibodies against the virus. Because what the vaccine is like I said, that protein that's just on the outside. So it's just one antibody against one specific part of the virus. When you actually get the virus, you're going to start producing antibodies against like multiple pieces of the virus. And not only just like that outside portion, like the inside portion, the actual virus. So your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
So I'm well protected? Like as much as the vaccine?
Probably more.
How so? Like how much more?
You're protected most likely for longer, since it was a natural response.
We're like bred and taught to be like vaccine is safer than actually getting COVID. You cannot like talk about this like outside in public. If you have antibodies built up, like you should be able to prove that you have those built up.
I mean, I still feel like I work for like an evil corporation. We're trying to keep track of everyone that's been vaccinated versus the census of how many people are actually reported. Basically, our organization is run on COVID money now. You don't talk about anything that can possibly implicate you or like big pharma. Even if you shut the door to the office, it's kind of like, who's listening?
I specifically have like, oh God, I signed NDAs against this.
Let me pause right here. Another Israeli scientist complained that when she wrote a paper about the side effects, the paper was squashed. I'm talking about Jessica Rose, received a PhD in computational biology from Bar Ilan University in Israel, and she wrote about the database that reports adverse reactions to things like vaccines and put out a paper. And she said, there's some serious adverse reactions, and she got hammered. She talked about the incidence of myocarditis among children, ages 12 to 15, and said it's problematic. We need to take a look at this. And her paper got pulled. An article in the Epoch Times about Ms. Rose said, "Thank you so much for watching. Now to watch the full episode, go to epochtv.com. Just sign up for free, and you can watch many other fantastic, I know this is a little self-serving, fantastic shows. That's epochtv.com, epochtv.com. I'm Larry Elder, and we've got a country to save. Out. Larry Elder here, and I've got some great news for you. If you're tired of the censorship in this country, then you're in luck. You can go over to epochtv.com and watch honest programs that don't spin the facts. EpochTV.com is a brand new, no-censorship video platform where you can watch not only my show, but other deep documentaries, great program, wholesome movies that you can watch with your entire family. So, head over to EpochTV.com. I'll see you there.